We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 60.
Yes, I tickle.
Okay.
I tickle.
A tickle. Okay.
Tickle.
Episode. Stop it. All right.
All right. 63, right?
Yes. Episode 63, Vikings Uncensored. Got quite a bit of news stuff to go over here this week. And then we're going to do a contest announcement coming up here in a little bit. Then we're going to roll back to our Vikings History 101 again this week and look back at the first regular season game ever played by the franchise.
Nice.
Then, of course, we'll have another one of our classic beer commercials. Brunswick's best looks at the 63 and the best players to have worn that number. And whatever else we come up with along the way. So with that, why don't we get started here? Big news this week in the NFL. Walmart heir Rob Walton is expected to purchase the Denver Broncos for $4.5 billion.
$100 billion.
Wow. So Elway's letting him go, huh?
I think Elway's bid was like 900 million or something like that. So he wasn't even in the ballpark, really.
Yeah.
Of course, now with Walmart, the Walmart heir buying the Denver Broncos, come game day, they're going to have two people working the gates and everything else is going to be a self-service kiosk to be able to get into the stadium. So.
Welcome. Please scan your first item. Insert cash or select payment type. Insert cash or pay another way.
Nice. That was perfect. No shit. Tickets will be cutting down prices on those tickets.
Yeah, they'll have the little Walmart smiley faces all over for today's rollback at the hot dog booth in section 212.
Yeah, they'll get rid of Mile High Stadium like a big fucking. They'll get rid of Mile High Stadium and they'll get a big Walmart store in there and they'll put like grandstands in it and shit. And and then on the outside of it, you can buy all your shit that you need for the day.
Yep. Anyway. New contract this week, big dollars. Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald.
Oh yeah.
Agreed to a revised contract that gives him a $40 million raise through the 2024 season.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
He earned it, in my opinion. I mean,
he gets $65 million guaranteed over the next 2 years. And in 2024, it will allow him to either retire or return for an additional $30 million.
Yeah, in my opinion here, and that I mean, he's the best defensive player in the league. He's been the best defensive player in the league for X amount of years so far. So give the dude the money. I mean, yeah, it's a money, it's a pay me now league, honestly. So
yeah. Then
he got his money. He earned it.
Yeah. Then on to Vikings type news. Of course, mandatory minicamp going on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Not really a whole lot that's come out so far as of the time we're recording anyway, other than, of course, Amir Smith-Marset not practicing due to his lower leg injury. And also KJ Osborne wasn't practicing on Tuesday. He's dealing with a little bit of a injury as well. O'Connell said it's not anything major. So hopefully his not anything major is not the same thing as a Zimmer tweak. So.
Nah, let's hope that that's in the past. Let's hope we get a little bit more honesty here with these injuries.
Right.
Or at least more forthcoming. Right. Excuse me. Continue.
Yes. All right. Then as far as the rookies go, we still have 3 that have not signed contracts yet.
Which is bewildering.
It's not the end of the world, but I mean, it's kind of
right.
I don't know. I don't really know what they're haggling over other than maybe some guaranteed money or something.
Exactly. I don't know what kind of pull these players are going to have because there's the rookie scales there.
No, but the 3 that have not signed so far are Andrew Booth Jr., Ed Ingram, and Caleb Evans. And now, according to Chris Thomason, he said Ingram is not even close right now. So I don't know how, I mean, I can understand haggling over the minor details, but if you're not even close when there is basically a rookie wage scale, I don't know what the holdup is, but he's been practicing under an injury protection clause type deal. So he's there, but
this is usually the go-to at this point with the whole contract issues. Is that's what they do. So the non-injury clause or whatever they assign when they don't have the contract.
Please stand by. Mr. Brunswick is experiencing technical difficulties. All right. Then the next news item, the Vikings signed kind of journeyman defensive lineman Jonathan Bullard, most recently of the Chicago Bears, and waived Kenny Willekes with an injury designation, who then cleared waivers and reverted back to injured reserve. Now, I did not hear what Willekes' injury is.
It sucks. When the dude's on the field, he makes plays, but he's so undersized, it's hard to keep him healthy.
Yeah, and this is the second time in 3 years that he's been on injured reserve. So I don't know if he's eligible to come off before the season starts or not.
I don't think we've gotten that far or heard that much yet.
I don't know either, but Bears watching, I guess, anyway. Then cornerback Chris Boyd was on Patrick Peterson's podcast late last week, I believe it was, All Things Covered, talking about the feeling of how things are at Egan now with the new regime and everything else. And didn't miss the opportunity to throw a little shade towards Mike Zimmer. He said when Zimmer was here, he said everybody was terrified to make mistakes because they acted like the world was ending if you screwed up.
And you know what? You could see that product on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that feeling as a podcast, you and I, last year towards the end, we had that feeling, even in the beginning a little bit.
Mhm.
But you can see that the product that's getting put on the field, how that is getting affected by the practices that are ran during the week.
Yeah, everybody was tight. Nobody looked like they were having fun. You know, half the time it just looked like somebody who was burned out at their job coming in, punching the clock.
Exactly, yes. I don't know if it's so much throwing shade as much as these players are just being real and letting the fans know how it was as well.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you kind of want to keep some of that stuff on the inside, but I feel like a lot of these players felt slighted by the last.
Oh,
regime.
there's no question.
Yep. So I understand their anger or their resentment.
Mm-hmm. They officially announced the start times for the 3 preseason games. Came out. The August 14th game versus the Raiders will be a 4:25 start. That's in Las Vegas.
Oh wow, that's early as hell.
It's in Las Vegas, so it's basically a 2:00 start there. But then on the 20th at home against the 49ers will be a 7 p.m. start.
As I said, you used to see in the preseason games are usually in the evening on like your local news stations. So it's just odd seeing them being played early in the afternoon to me.
Yep. And then the final preseason game, the 27th, will be at Denver at 9 p.m.
At Walmart Supercenter.
And then last item of note, this just broke not too long before we started recording here on Wednesday. Our favorite wide receiver / injured reserve superstar, Chad Beebe, signed a contract with the Houston Texans. So
he got picked up.
And right after he got picked up, they dropped him and he shattered into 12 pieces and will spend the first 6 weeks on IR.
This guy's fucking Humpty Dumpty, man.
Well, I mean, he's gone now, so I had to make one more Fabergé egg joke about Beebe's now that he's.
I'm happy for him that he got picked up, but I think a lot of it has to do with the last name. So.
Well, but the thing of it is with him, you know, his old man was a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And this guy, you look at him funny and he breaks into 3 pieces. So.
I mean, when he's healthy, he's, above average receiver, I think, but he can't stay on the field.
I don't know if I go above average.
He's too small.
Yeah, but healthy Chad Beebe falls in that same line as the Loch Ness Monster, Brett Jones being an actual person.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Wyatt Davis not being stuck in Area 51, I guess, but.
That is such. My mind is having all sorts of fucked up moments. It's not firing right with that Wyatt Davis thing. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, we still don't know. We still haven't heard boo about Wyatt Davis during any of the minicamp or OTAs. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's not looking
Wyatt
good.
Davis from college got replaced with the Wyatt Davis by some aliens from a different planet, apparently.
Something.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll find out when it comes around to training camp and that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Anyway, moving on, as we teased at the beginning of the show, we have a new contest coming out that we're going to announce right here and right now to you guys. We're kind of doing a subscriber drive. We're going to call
Subscribe, please.
Going to be pretty easy for those of you either watching on the YouTube channel, or if you happen to be watching it on Facebook later on, or even if you're listening to the audio. All you have to do is go to the YouTube channel.
Tutorial.
All you have to do is go to the YouTube channel and just go on YouTube and search for Vikings Uncensored if you haven't been on our YouTube page yet.
Gotta get all those geriatrics in here.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Anyway, I think Mr. Brunswick might have got into something before we started here, but
Oh boy.
but anyway, go on to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, and then down in the comments of the latest video, just comment, I subscribed. That way we have your username and we know that you actually subscribed. And that's all you have to do to get entered. And once we hit 400 subscribers, we will give away a $100 gift card to NFL Shop for you to do as you so choose and buy what you so choose. So keep that in mind, guys. The sooner we get to 400, the sooner somebody's going to win that gift card. So
Right.
tell your friends and everybody else to subscribe to the channel, and then of course make the comment down below that you subscribed. Those of you who are already subscribers, all you have to comment in there as well as I subscribed, and you guys are also eligible. So
Right.
let's get a rolling here. All right, with that, we're going to roll into another one of what we were calling our Vikings History 101. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we did the history of professional football in Minnesota up to the time
Good stuff.
that the Vikings were born, basically. So now this week, we are going to take a look back at the first regular season game in Minnesota Vikings history.
Nice.
Technically, the first game in franchise history was a preseason game versus the Dallas Cowboys, played in Sioux Falls, South Dakota
Wow.
on August 5th of 1961. Now, unfortunately, we lost that game 38-13. But the first regular season game was on September 17th, 1961 at Metropolitan Stadium, current home of the Mall of Hysteria, where the upstart Minnesota Vikings shocked the Chicago Bears 37-13.
Right. That was fantastic. That is so awesome.
And led to a long-standing feud and hatred by Bears head coach George Halas, who I think took the Vikings a little bit lightly as just a lowly
Good.
expansion
And then we
team,
stepped all over 'em.
because we
Good.
actually did play Chicago in the preseason, and they beat us 30-7 in that game. So I think they got a little overconfident. The first point scored in Vikings team history was kicker Mike Mercer. Scored a
Good old Mike.
12-yard field goal in the first quarter of that game. Now that would be a 22-yard field goal in today's NFL, because remember back then the
posts were in front
at the
of-
front of the end zone instead of in the back.
People running into that shit, running routes and stuff, man.
Then the first touchdown in team history came from tight end and future Vikings coach, offensive coordinator Bob Schnelker. Caught a 14-yard touchdown pass from Fran Tarkenton. Tarkenton had come off the bench at the end of the first quarter, replacing starting quarterback George Shaw, who was more or less ineffective in the first quarter. Head coach Norm Van Brocklin was, up until just before the game started, had planned on starting Tarkenton, and then at the last minute changed his mind and decided to go with Shaw instead.
So he was already on, shaky ground to begin with on who he wanted to go with to begin with. So
yeah, and there's no secret about the history between Van Brocklin and Tarkenton when they were together. They didn't really see eye to eye, and they kind of butted heads quite a bit. But anyway, after Tarkenton came off the bench in the first quarter, he proceeded to go 17 for 23.
Wow.
For 250 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, and ran for another one.
And that's his rookie debut.
That was his debut as a rookie. Yes.
Wow.
One of the best.
That's electrifying back then.
Well, it'd be electrifying now. I mean, it's one of the
It would
best
be. You're
rookie
absolutely
debuts
right.
of in NFL history, really.
Yeah.
Guys that caught touchdown passes from Tarkenton on that day, of course, Bob Schnelker, wide receiver Jerry Reichow, running back.
Jerry Rice?
Huh?
Jerry Rice?
No, not Jerry Rice. Reichow.
Rice out. Yeah.
Running back Hugh McClenaghy, and wide receiver / tight end / running back Dave Middleton.
Okay.
And then, of course, Tarkenton also ran for the touchdown.
Very electrifying start for first, for a rookie.
Very much so. And I mean, that basically kicked off Tarkenton's career, and he was, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, still is, really. I mean, even with the way the NFL has transitioned to a passing league, what Tarkenton did back then, I mean,
His style of play.
Yeah, I mean, he basically was the first of the running mobile quarterbacks. I mean, he said himself it was almost sacrilegious for a quarterback to run around and do what he did in that time frame.
Right, you're looking at giving your coach a heart attack doing some of this shit that he pulled.
Yeah, Mike Zimmer would have had an aneurysm after about the second quarter and pulled him and put Shaw back in.
Mike Zimmer would have had a stroke that first game he's seen Tarkenton play if he was coaching back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, Tarkenton would have never got in because he was a rookie anyway, so. But anyway, on the defensive side, the defense also made things rough for the Bears. Dick Grassini, Rip Hawkins, Jack Morris, and Charlie Sumner all had interceptions. And then Chicago also fumbled the ball 4 times, losing one of those. So
wow,
they had 5 turnovers total. And as we
very much, it sounds like they were overlooking us. This is what it's really sounding like with the turnovers and the point spread. Yeah.
Yep. And as we had mentioned, Bears head coach George Halas was absolutely livid. Now, he was already pissed off at Van Brocklen because Van Brocklen was supposed to provide video footage of the 3 preseason games to Halas, and he never did. So. And then, of course, they were the mighty Bears. They'd been around since the inception of the NFL, and the Vikings were just this lowly expansion team that was just coming into the league. So, they kind of figured
just when the league was starting to blossom.
Right. They kind of figured that it was going to be an easy victory, like I said, especially after they had just whipped the Vikings 30-7 in the preseason.
We sent him, crying home to his daddy.
Mm-hmm. And, that was the thing. After that game, from there on out, George Halas absolutely despised the Vikings, because they basically embarrassed him. How can this no-name little expansion team come out and
those are the stories that I enjoy hearing.
Oh, absolutely. It couldn't have been a better start to the franchise than what we had. I mean, and smacking one of your rivals or soon to be rivals around never hurts either. So,
and looking back at it in hindsight makes it so much sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, unfortunately, this game was more or less the high point of that 1961 season. I believe we won 3 games total that year. So,
okay.
Obviously we had some work to do, but it was a great start to the franchise. And, we have gotten to a point where we all know where we're at today. So that basically is your history lesson for this week on the very first regular season game played by the Minnesota Vikings.
Nice one, Professor.
So now hopefully you learned something, and I know I learned a few things too when I was digging through.
That was great. That stat line by Tarkenton is just
that was impressive. I mean, I would be impressed as
one rushing touchdown on 4 tosses. That's nuts.
And even back then, 250 yards passing in a game was really good at that point in time too. So.
Right. No shit. Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, we are going to roll into another one of our classic beer commercials. So you guys head to the fridge, crack yourself open a cold one and check this out. We'll be back in a minute.
Honey, I went shopping today. I found the cutest thing. Isn't it adorable? I thought you might like this one, and I just couldn't resist these.
Does she have a sister?
What do you think?
Probably have to go a little deeper.
It'll take longer to
Get off, get off, get off, get off.
Men should act like men, and light beer should taste like beer. Milwaukee's Best Light.
Better delivery, and that's going to increase the compression right there.
Look at that little dog.
Oh, you're just a fluffy little doggy. Come here, I'll rub your little belly. Yeah.
Men should act like men, and light beer should taste like beer. Milwaukee's Best Light.
You're going to bet
Guys,
that you are
I gotta go
left
out to the car. I'll be right back.
Anyway.
Hey, honey. How are you? I'm just calling to check in.
Men should act like men, and light beer should taste like beer. Milwaukee's Best Light.
All right, we are back. And now for our what has become one of our staples of the show, we look at this week's Brunswick's Best and the greatest players in Vikings history to wear number 63. So who you got for us this week, Mr. Brunswick?
I got 4 again this week. So I was pretty surprised by the number of I was able to get for 63. So we'll just kick things off right away, a little bit of old school here. Jim Balone. Jim Balone went undrafted out of USC in 1966. The Vikings scooped up and signed Balone, and he wore 63 from 66 until 70, playing right guard in his first season with the team before switching to left guard the next season and remaining there during his time with the Vikings. Balone spent 4 seasons at left guard, garnering 48 starts along the way. Balone helped the Vikings win the NFL championship in 1969, which, for those young fans that don't know, we have won a championship. We've just never won a Super Bowl. So we won the world championship in 69, and then he ended up starting at left guard in the Vikings' first ever Super Bowl as well. So there's a little tidbit there. Jim spent his short 5-year career entirely with the Vikings, ultimately having his life and career cut short due to a battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Jim retired at the beginning of the 71 season after learning he had the ailment. Although managing to live a normal life for some time, Balone finally succumbed to the cancerous disease on the 21st of August of 1977, a day after his 33rd birthday. Crazy. Yeah, he died young. That is nuts.
Way too young.
Yeah, I mean, and for a guard, he could have played another 8 years, I bet, if it wasn't for the Hodgkin's lymphoma. So
yeah, he could have easily played into his mid-30s. I mean,
right. A lot of these offensive linemen. I mean, Whitworth was what going on his 40th birthday.
Was 40, yeah, isn't Richie Incognito? He was like 42 or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that's getting up there for players, but there are a few that can make it that far.
So that's one of those. It's one of those sadder stories. But he had his time in the light. He got to play. I'm sure he got. His life was fulfilling. So, moving along, we got Kirk Loudermilk, and I'm sure Rhino. I'm sure you know Kirk Loudermilk. He's right around your
Loudermilk. He was right. He was the center right, kind of in that key time when I really started, understanding the concepts and everything else.
That's kind of what I figured. Now, Loudermilk was drafted by the Vikings, pick 59 in the 3rd round out of Ohio State. Yeah, Ted Glover. In the 85 NFL draft. Kirk played for the team from, not Kirk Cousins, Kirk Loudermilk. Played from 85 until 92. After playing spot duty in his first 2 years with the team, Loudermilk grabbed the starting center spot his 3rd season. And according to Loudermilk's 1988 NFL player trading card, He was the youngest starting center that year. Loudermilk went on to start 84 of the team's next 92 games. He started every non-strike game during the Vikings' run to the 1987 NFC Championship game against the Diesel and the Redskins. So he also had a son named John that played safety in the NFL briefly, making the practice squad of 3 teams, and the Chargers, yours truly, the Vikings, and the Bucks. So Kirk, you made the list as well this week. Now that's about it for my old school players. Let's bring it up a little bit closer to these times. And with that, we'll kick it off with Corbin Lucina. Corbin was born in Mankato. I did not know he was a Minnesota native.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't remember that it was Mankato, but I knew he was born in Minnesota. But
yep. Born in Minnesota in Mankato. He played high school for the well-known Minnesota high school, Cretin-Durham Hall. He was drafted by the Bills, number 167 in the 6th round of the 93 NFL draft, out of Augustana, out of Sioux Falls. So, me. Okay. So, Corbin played for the Bills from 93 until 97. He had a stop in Carolina with the Panthers in 98 before landing back home with the Vikings in 99. And now, in my opinion, with Lucina, it's kind of another Joe Berger type of deal where his better years honestly came when he was in Minnesota. He was never the greatest offensive lineman, but he was above average, is what I would say. I liked Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
He was reliable. But anyways, he landed at home with the Vikings in 99. During his NFL career, he was given the nickname Karate Corbin.
I did not know that.
Scary. He was actually an 8th degree black belt in karate.
Wow.
So in the year 2000, his second year with the team, he became the primary starter at left guard, having the unenviable task of replacing, in my opinion, the best guard to ever play the game, and Randall McDaniel. Those are some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Corbin wasn't all that great, but he wasn't all that awful either. I would take a Corbin Lucina over a Drew Samia or a Dakota Dozier any day of the week, honestly. Corbin
I'd take Corbin Burnson over Dakota Dozier or Drew Samia.
Yeah, absolutely. Corbin also had a son who had a brief stint with the team a couple of years back here, who ultimately ended up being waived. I was rooting for him. Didn't happen. Moving right along, the last one on the list. And a lot of you new youngins or new fans of the team, this might be a little bit more, this might ring your bell a little bit more. Brandon Fusco. Brandon Fusco didn't actually start playing organized football until his junior year in high school. Brandon wasn't heavily recruited out of high school due to his little experience and not much tape. Eventually choosing to enroll at good old Slippery Rock out of Pennsylvania.
Which is as close to Bologna Tech as you can get.
What's that?
So which is as close to Bologna Tech as you can get.
Right.
Tip Drew Bunting.
Yeah, right. Brandon had stated that he felt very connected with that coaching staff. So after a strong performance at the Senior Bowl and NFL Combine, Fusco was drafted by the Vikings in the 6th round, 172 overall in the 2011 NFL Draft. Brandon actually got off to a great start with the team, playing in 3 games his rookie season, then starting all 16 games the following year, which is great payback of what you get out of a 6th rounder. So that was a good pick by Spielman. he was able to prove that he was reliable and an above average starter for the Vikings. The Vikings extended Fusco with a 5-year, $25 million contract in 2014. Shortly after getting extended, of course, Brando got injured. And he wasn't able to get back to that quality of play he was at pre-injury. I also believe switching from right guard to left guard may have been a little bit of a hindrance too, especially with the way Zimmer loved to play musical chairs with this offensive line. It really did not benefit anybody that's played offensive line here in the last 7 years.
No,
with Zimmer at head coach, because he was plugging and playing all over that line.
Mm-hmm. And Fusco was more of a natural right guard. I firmly believe that.
So. Right. Yep. So with that, that ends this week's Brunswick's Best. We had Valone, Lodermilk, Lucina, and Fusco. Thank you.
Very good list. And with that, that is about all we've got for this week. Want to remind everybody again about the contest that we announced earlier in the show.
Just subscribe.
You can go back. You can go back and listen to the details there. I'm not going to bore you with them again. But again, if you're out and about, doing summertime things out on the boat, at the lakes, whatever, camping kind of thing, take us with you. You can listen to us on the audio cast. You can watch us on the YouTube channel out there too if you get reception for it. But make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I want to thank everybody for watching and sticking with us once again. Just like the Vikings, we hope we have bigger and better things planned down the road here, and we'll be with this team every step of the way. So with that, why don't you take us out of here, Lance?
63, man. But you hit that right on the head. We are honestly still learning here at Vikings Uncensored. We were raw, new, coming in, no really experience for me. We're still evolving. We're still kind of finding ourselves. I think we're off to a great start. Some more subscriptions would be nice. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. We're always up for suggestions. Tell us how we are. If you don't like us, if you do like us, bring it.
Something you want to see us talk about on the show, bring that up. We're always open to suggestions. So
exactly. So with that being, by the way, we are 2 diehard fans. I mean, what better could you want? Covering your Vikings and 2 people that bleed purple and gold. So with that being said, subscribe and Skull, and we'll see you next week. Be safe, be smart, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid and get yourself in trouble with the law.
Freaking the law.
We'll see you next Friday, guys. Have fun.
You guys have a good weekend.
Cool.